Hi, welcome back to PHI and PPE. I'm Amy Wood, and I have the lovely Deanna Otts-Whitfield with me. And today we are going to talk about, what are we talking about today? We are going to talk about the cost of poor documentation.
Ooh, uh-oh. I say this all the time. If you didn't write it down, it didn't happen.
Did not happen.
I need to come up with a new verbiage. That one's kind of old.
Yeah, but it still holds true. It's an oldie but a goodie.
It's an oldie but a goodie because, what we were just talking about, if you don't know, you could be doing something wrong because you didn't know it was supposed to be done. But here's the thing, like as far as my side goes, ocean infection control, there's not a lot of new stuff. Stuff's been around for a long time. So we should know by now that these should be done, whether it's training, documentation. So
And on
nothing
my
new in
end,
my courtyard.
it changes every day. New threats, new vulnerabilities, new cyber issues. It's every day that there's something different. And so having the right paperwork is usually what's going to bite you on both our ends. So,
Right.
well, I
So,
mean,
okay. So I know written in black and white, it says that our training records for OSHA specifically need to be kept for 3 years. What kind of documentation does HIPAA need? Like what?
a lot. Everything needs to be kept for at least 6 years. And so your
Mm.
manual, which my manual is like twice as big as yours, and your risk analysis, which needs to be updated at least annually and more frequently if you're changing major things, like if you move your physical location, if you change out a major piece of software, if you have an incident. So that risk analysis is not like a 5-page yes no checklist. It actually identifies your risks, says where the data is flowing in and out of your office, things like that. And the other one I see that people have as basic templates is policies and procedures and inadequate training.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
So
I
those
could
are the
say the
first three
same.
things.
I could say the same too. Yeah, for sure. Because, I mean, you can find a model plan, a
Yep.
model privacy plan. You can find a model bloodborne pathogen standard plan and exposure control plan on the website. But here's where it gets, specific. It's got to be tailored for your setting, for your dental setting, for the types of staff that you have for the types of patients that you see in your practice. So, yes, I mean, you could go through training, you could go through documentation, but how specific is it to your office? That's the thing. Amy and I talk a lot about these standards and these rules and compliance in general, but still, these things must be tailored for your office. For example, I'm probably not going to have an oral surgery office that is going to be needing to check their dental unit water lines because they typically don't use the dental unit water. So that's something that is probably in a lot of model plans, but it's not going to be necessarily tailored for that specific practice. So when it comes to documentation, when you're doing these trainings or you have something happen and you need to document it, then it's got to be site specific.
Yeah.
I'll say it, site specific.
Well, I mean, just look at the work that you and I do on a daily basis. Every client we work with is unique and different, and no two assessments are the same, and no two policies and procedures are the same. I mean, we can start with a stock list of things that we can start as templates, but
Mhm.
every single one is unique and different. And it has to be that way. Otherwise, you can't identify where the true risks are and then make a plan to close those gaps. So I know when everything falls apart and you end up having an actual investigation or potential patient lawsuits or a dental board gets involved on the HIPAA side, it does happen. It's not widely publicized, but it does happen. During that, the first three things they're going to ask for is your recent risk analysis. including any threats or vulnerabilities that were identified and what you've done to mitigate any of it. So your risk analysis and your risk management plan kind of go hand in hand. And then they ask for your policies and procedures, and they ask for your most recent training logs. And they want to know that every single team member has been trained at least annually, and that all your new team members were trained before they even stepped foot into the office. So,
Wow.
I mean,
Wow.
those are just the
That's some pretty
basics.
serious stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of offices that you and I walk into, we see stuff that's outdated. We see things that haven't been done in multiple years. We
Mm.
see paperwork that's not relevant or current, and it's sad because the resources are available. They just need to
Mhm.
be implemented
Mhm.
appropriately. And I don't know if it's because team turnover has been at an all-time high the last few years and people are just kind of dropping the ball and not picking it up or just trying to stay ahead of the normal daily workflow. And so compliance just kind of gets brushed aside like we usually do. But somebody needs to be responsible for it. And if that person is going to leave the organization, then someone else needs to pick that up.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Um, one of the biggest things, as far as documentation goes, or, even going back to training, when, OSHA requires that all clinical employees must have bloodborne pathogen training. Now, there are some offices that I see that hire a nephew, a niece, a son, a daughter, a high school kid for the summer
Sterilization tech.
sterilization tech.
Yeah.
Well, they probably have no clinical experience, but yet they still need to have infection control and bloodborne pathogen training. The whole point is to prevent contamination and to protect themselves, right? Um, some other things, just not doing things. Oh, I lost my train of thought there. Okay.
Welcome to my normal daily life.
Right? Right? Right.
Perimenopause.
But here, how often does maybe training go on, or even a staff meeting that could be considered training, and the team didn't write anything down to indicate that that was discussed?
Yeah.
It's like having a conversation with the patient and you didn't document it. Well, we talked about it. Well, what exactly did you talk about?
Mhm.
So that's why OSHA requires 3 years worth of training records. Doesn't say necessarily what has to be on there. I mean, there are required trainings, but even if you have a safety meeting about how to use the emergency oxygen, that can be considered training. Write that down, document that.
Mhm. Absolutely. And even podcast videos like these, we actually recommend that our clients put these into team huddles and
Hmm.
talk with their team about some of these topics. And for many of our clients, it could be as simple as, hey, we're already doing this, but this is just a reminder for you.
Sure, sure,
Because our
absolutely.
offices are kind of, little little above
We like to think so, yeah.
bragging a little bit.
Um, Bragging a little bit, just a little bit. We love our clients.
We do.
So yeah, I mean, just as you mentioned earlier, if HIPAA's gonna walk in, the HIPAA police are gonna walk into your practice, or the state board is gonna be looking for documentation. They're also gonna be looking for, what do you call it? Breaches in infection control. That's usually where these occurrences happen. And they're going to wonder why these breaches happen. Where did it come from? Well, it's probably due to lack of training or lack of documentation. So, like you mentioned with HIPAA, training should be done before you start your clinical duties. You have to know what you're handling with your hazardous chemicals. You have to know what PPE is required of the types of duties that you're doing. And then annual training must occur every time, or something changes in the practice. You get a new chemical, you got a new piece of equipment that requires special PPE, new glasses for the laser. That training should occur with all of those staff members anytime something changes, and then annually thereafter. What if you're no longer using something in your practice that was once considered maybe hazardous, let's say glutaraldehyde, you're no longer using that? Well, now you've got to talk about either the new product you're using or what you're using instead of. That's where that, changes occur. Training needs to take place.
Yeah. And same on my end with HIPAA. What if your workflow has changed dramatically because you're using a different vendor? And what if that vendor now is using AI but isn't telling you, or they upsold you on a new service and that hasn't been discussed with maybe your HIPAA consultant prior to saying yes or implementing it? Don't do that. Um, but those things change constantly. And so, another document that I would say that gets asked for a lot during investigations and sometimes during legal proceedings and depositions, if there's any kind of patient or class action lawsuit, is business associate agreements. So they want to make sure the vendors that you're working with are actually contractually obligated to comply with how HIPAA applies in your office. And
Wow.
that's not always the case.
Right.
So, yeah, it changes a
Mm,
lot. I every day is a new adventure in HIPAA land, I will say.
yeah.
And dentistry is one of those unique, interesting places where it's always going to keep us busy because something is always happening, something is always changing. And
Mm,
that's why we specialize in this to make sure
yeah.
that dental offices know how to comply, but also how to protect themselves and their patients.
Sure. Sure.
Well,
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
any other parting words on this topic?
Oh, so every September, OSHA does issue the findings from the previous October to the next September, their findings over certain industries and what they were fined as far as violations go.
Okay.
And
What kind of numbers
so,
we got?
well, from October 24th through September of 2025, across the dental industry, and we're NAICS code 621210, random.
Okay.
Anyways, there were about thirty citations issued over 12 inspections. So 12 inspections were done. They issued 30 citations, and that equaled about $41,000, almost $42,000.
Okay.
And some of those fines were having to do with bloodborne pathogens. Either they didn't have an exposure control plan, it wasn't updated, no training, hazard communication, respiratory protection, not wearing the appropriate protection whenever, or not having it available in the office for those staff members. So there are some serious fines going on out there. Now I've seen it higher in recent years, but still $41,000. You know,
Imagine what you could do in your practice with that kind of money. You could replace all your computers, you could hire trainers and consultants to do things the right way for your office. You
right. That's
could
right.
take the entire team out for an amazing spa day and then some.
Ooh, does that exist?
Oh,
I'm
I would like to do that this year.
sure it does.
That sounds
Me too.
amazing.
Me too.
Separate massages. We're not doing the group or
Yeah,
couples. No,
yeah, no.
thank you. That's too far. I'm pretty sure our HR friends would
Okay.
say absolutely not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
absolutely not.
that's
Absolutely.
actually interesting statistics. On the HIPAA side, it's rare that a dentist actually receives a fine. It's actually under 10 at this point. It's like 7 or 8 at this point. But
Hmm.
um, it's more likely that an office will have state level issues and patient related
Hmm.
issues. So it's easier to get ahead of it. And like we always say, embrace the suck and just do it. So, you know,
Just do it.
the
Just do it.
documents are necessary. They need to be updated. It needs to be part of a plan, and then you need to practice the plan.
That's
That's for
right.
another episode, though.
That's for a whole nother episode. Disaster
Well,
drills.
That sounds like fun. We should do that one next. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode of PHI and PPE. And remember to stay safe and stay compliant. And Deanna
Wash
always
your,
says to wash your hands and
wash
don't
your
be
hands.
gross. Wash your hands and don't be gross. I add that part. Please
Yes.
don't be gross. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us. For more information, please go to www.copperpennyconsulting.com. Bye.